Welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Yashani Silva. On this week's episode, it's about Joe Armon-Jones, his life and times and best hits. During this hour, we are going to be talking about more of his best albums of all time. The first one's called A Way Back. This one's a collaboration special between Armon-Jones and drummer Mala. The album's based on several genres. There's influences of dub, dubstep, grime and jungle. 5 tracks all in all, with jazz and R&B completing the music. Mala's on drums and Armon-Jones on keyboard. Also, there are some guest appearances on sax, trumpet and guitar. Another album called Wrong Side of Town. This is a great album by Armon-Jones' band the Ezra Collective. This album also explores the intermingling of different genres. Guest appearances by Morgan Simpson and Nubia Garcia and Hack Baker. Another album called Tinted Shades. This one's a great collaboration between Armon-Jones and singer-songwriter Fatima. Fatima is a London-based singer hailing from Sweden. She's had notable collaborations over the years and each one was unique. Alongside Armon-Jones, her singing takes on a jazzy note. Her singing mingles really well in the backdrop of keyboard and drum melodies. The music also has traces of dub and R&B. So that was a quick insight into what's coming up during this hour, and this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Yashani Silva. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back after that. Stay tuned. On this week's episode, it's about Joe Armon-Jones, his life and times and best hits. During this hour, we're going to be talking about more of his best albums of all time. The first one's called A Way Back. So Joe Armon-Jones started out as a keyboardist in the 20s. Ever since, he's collaborated with a whole lot of other jazz talent from Ella May to Nubia Garcia. He's also released several solo and group projects. This one's a collaboration special between Armon-Jones and drummer Mala. So Armon-Jones, very versatile artist. What sets him apart is his ability to cover new ground with every release. His keyboard playing stands out in every album. So in the album Way Back, it's a whole range of genres covered. There's influences of dub, dubstep, grime and jungle. 5 tracks all in all, with jazz and R&B completing the music. Mala is on drums and Armon-Jones on keyboard. Also, there are some guest appearances. Maxwell Ovin was a guest producer on the opening track. The title track sees a lot of guest stars on sax, trumpet and guitar. The interplay between Mala and Armon-Jones is fascinating. Mala is very driving and dynamic on drums, while by contrast, Armon-Jones is soft and melodic on keyboard. So it's a great blend of dynamic and soft nostalgic chimes. Also, we get a glimpse into some great songwriting by Jones and his team. So overall, this album is a great collaboration special between two jazz legends, also gives us an insight into a mix of various genres. Another album called The Wrong Side of Town. This album is another tour de force by Armon-Jones and the Ezra Collective. However, that's just one of his musical identities. He's a great musical force in several genres, from hip-hop to garage to dubstep. So this album, like the previous one, is a beautiful mix of different genres. There's 4 tracks. There's some great vocals by Hack Baker, a rapper and songwriter hailing from London. More great names on the lineup. There's bassist Luke Winter, drummer Morgan Simpson from the rock band Black Midi, Nubia Garcia's on saxophone. The music is refreshingly reverberating and echoing. In the opening track, Hack Baker is rapping alongside Armon-Jones on keyboard. The song he sings is very nostalgic, a heartbreaking one, a story about life lived in hardship on the streets. Another great track, Nubia's Side of Town. This one stars the legendary tenor saxophonist Nubia Garcia. Her playing is inspired by post-pop, Eastern influences and R&B. In the backdrop, there's Armon-Jones' dreamy keyboard playing, powerful drumming and pulsating bass. The closing song, Wrong Side of Road, sees Armon-Jones pitted alongside a rhythm section. The music turns into dreamy Latin theme melodies. So overall, this one's a great powerful album full of twists and turns. Another album called Tinted Shades. This one's a great collaboration between Armon-Jones and singer-songwriter Fatima. Fatima is a singer hailing from Sweden, and over the years she's released some great albums from Yellow Memories 2014 and Yet It's All Love coming in 2018. She's also collaborated with musicians like Suavi, Ono and Mindsign. Her collaborations with each artist was unique, and alongside Armon-Jones it's a mesmerizing collaboration. The reason for that is her singing takes on a jazzy note alongside Armon-Jones. It's something she really excels at. She also gets to play off the live instrumentation of Jones and drummers Moses Boyd and Morgan Simpson. The music also has traces of dub, R&B and so forth, but it's primarily a jazz and neo-soul based album. This one's a beautiful collaboration special between these two great musicians. The whole experience is like being in a room with them, immersing yourself in the music as they perform. There's only 3 compositions in the album, but they all allow for a great funky listening experience. Fatima's got some great velvety vocals and she anchors the performance, each composition portrayed in a beautiful way by the musicians. So that was some insight into more of Joe Armon-Jones' best albums of all time, and this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Yashani Silva. On this week's episode, it's about Joe Armon-Jones, his life and times and best hits. Now it's time for some trending album news. There's a new album up for release called Monoliths and Screens for Quartet. The album release also coincides with the promotional tour for the album. The album is by the Matthew Mazzu Trio. So Matthew Mazzu is an ardent composer, and his compositions are based on translating images into music. This album features the imagery of monoliths converted into songs. Also, back in 2023, the Matthew Trio played in Berlin a performance called Screens. That's what inspired the songs in the second half of the album. The songs based on monoliths, according to Matthew, are based on an Arthur C. Clarke movie called Space Odyssey. The compositions also feature great improvisations. The second part of the album features songs inspired by a performance by the Matthew Trio in Berlin called Screens. Matthew says, observing these rocky formations is like observing the human condition. Same with Screens. Screens are everywhere. So a very abstract and fascinating compilation of songs. Songs like Monolith, 12 Screens Together, My Ghosts Are Underground Screen, Switching Light Screen, and so forth. For more information, please visit MatthewMazzu.com. So that was some trending album news on the Weekend Jazz Update with Joshua Silva. We're going for a short break. We'll be right back after that. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some of Joe Armon-Jones' best songs of all time. Stay tuned. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Joshua Silva. On this week's episode, it's about Joe Armon-Jones, his life and times and best hits. During this hour, we're going to be talking about some of his best singles of all time. Here's a quick recap of what's coming up. The first one's called Icy Road Stacked. This one's a mix of bass, drums, and synth. The song sees Armon-Jones coming together with a trio, featuring musicians Squawky Bass and Mutali Chashi from the band Kokoroko. Another song called Kingfisher. This one's a collaboration between Armon-Jones and vocalist Ashiba. The song's a nostalgic ballad, a song about a ghetto revolution, raising people out of despair. Ashiba's got great velvety vocals that synchronize beautifully with Armon-Jones' keyboard melodies. Another song called The Citadel. This one's one of the top songs from Armon-Jones' hit album All the Quiet Part 1. It's a mix of relaxing piano and horn instrumentals. Another song called Nubia's Side of Town. This track features another great collaboration between Armon-Jones and saxophonist Nubia Garcia. The song plays out in a reggae style. This song is the story of two lovers that are brought together by chance. And a song called Aquarius, composed by Armon-Jones himself. This one's all about astrology. The lyrics talk about peace guiding the planet and love steering the stars. The dawn of a new age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is believed to bring positive social change and enlightenment. So that was a quick recap of what's coming up during this hour, and this is the Weekend Jazz Update with Joshua Silva. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Joshua Silva. On this week's episode, it's about Joe Armon-Jones, his life and times and best hits. During this hour, we're going to be talking about some of his best songs of all time. The first one's called Icy Road Stacked. This one's a maelstrom of bass, drums, and synth. The song sees Armon-Jones coming together with a trio featuring musicians Squawky Bass and bassist Mutali Chashi from the band Kokoroko. Together, they take the listener through a mind-bending journey. This track brings together a beautiful mix of dubstep and jazz. Armon-Jones is absolutely dazzling on keyboard. Also, a lot of his technical innovation comes across on the tracks. Another song called Kingfisher. On this track, it's a special collaboration between Armon-Jones and vocalist Ashiba. Kingfisher is a song featuring crisp rhythms and great instrumentation. Ashiba adds her melodious vocals to the mix. Overall, this song's one of jazz and soul. So this one's a beautiful nostalgic ballad. The lyrics are about a ghetto revolution, to raise people out of despair. Also, the lyrics are gloomy and solemn, but the song is sung in a very matter-of-fact optimistic tone, intermingling the hope for a new future and the melancholy of the past. Another song called The Citadel. This one's one of the top songs from the album All the Quiet Part 1. This song's full of beautiful, relaxing horn and piano instrumentals. Critics have likened this song to the music of the Jazz Crusaders. It's all very gentle with a touch of dynamism added here and there. In the middle of the song, Joe Armon-Jones steps in with a bright solo that takes the mood and the music in various directions, then returns to normal towards the end. Another song called Nubia's Side of Town. This track features another great collaboration between Joe Armon-Jones and Nubia Garcia, a legendary saxophonist hailing from the UK. Joe Armon-Jones is very creative in how he plays the keyboard, a continuous flow of inspiring ideas. He weaves in and out of the saxophone melodies in the backdrop. So this track was inspired by a previous track titled Wrong Side of Town. In that track, it was Armon-Jones starring alongside vocalist Hack Baker. Nubia's version of this track alongside Armon-Jones is similar, except for one difference. It's more of a reggae theme song. The rhythms are heavily based on dubstep. The song mingles great improvisation and percussion. So the lyrics of this song paint a picture in which there's both hope and gloom. The song starts off with the singer singing about a town where everybody goes into various desolate places to cope with the melancholy of lost love. And that's where the singer meets her lover. And now for one of Armon-Jones' original compositions. This one's called Aquarius. This one's all about astrology and how the stars align to signal a new era. So according to astrological beliefs, these cosmic alignments have the power to bring great peace and goodwill in mankind. The lyrics talk about peace guiding the planet and love steering the stars. The song specifically talks about the dawn of a new age of Aquarius, which comes about once every few millennia. The age of Aquarius is believed to bring positive social change and enlightenment. The song goes on to talk in detail about the ideals and values associated with this era, the harmony and understanding, sympathy and trust between individuals and communities. The mystic crystal revelation is about enlightenment, enabling the human race to unshackle itself of previous societal expectations and journey on a new path to enlightenment. So this song is all about painting hope for the future through the concept of astrological beliefs. And welcome back to the Weekend Jazz Update with Joe Armon-Jones. On this week's episode, it's about a legendary London-based jazz artist. He's primarily a keyboardist. His music combines dub, hip-hop, funk, soul, and jazz. He's played alongside notable groups in London like the Ezra Collective, alongside acclaimed vocalist Nubia Garcia and more. His music is very laid-back and full of soulful grooves. So Joe Armon-Jones' playing style on keyboard has several inspirations. Herbie Hancock and Patrice Rushen's influences created his groovy funky style. His light touch and lyrical playing was inspired by Oscar Peterson. So that was a bit of insight into his biography. Now let's talk about some of his best albums of all time. The first one's called Turn to Clear View. In this album, Jones is experimenting with electronic and jazz mixes. There's some great guest musicians making an appearance like Dylan Jones and Nubia Garcia. Another album called All the Quiet Part 1. So Joe Armon-Jones is famous for his laid-back groovy style, and on this album we see him performing alongside his bandmates from the Ezra Collective. James Malson's on sax alongside Nubia Garcia and so forth. There's some great duets between Armon-Jones and rapper Goya Gambani. Guest singer Ashiba makes an appearance on the track Kingfisher. Overall, this album is full of dancing piano melodies over soulful grooves. Another album called The Wrong Side of Town. This one's a great album by Armon-Jones' band the Ezra Collective. This album also explores the intermingling of different genres. Guest appearances by Morgan Simpson and Nubia Garcia and Hack Baker. A song called Nubia's Side of Town. This track features another great collaboration between Joe Armon-Jones and saxophonist Nubia Garcia. The song plays out in a reggae style. This song is a story of two lovers that are brought together by chance. Another song called Aquarius, composed by Armon-Jones himself. This one's all about astrology. The lyrics talk about peace guiding the planet and love steering the stars. So that was a quick recap of everything that we discussed on this week's episode of the Weekend Jazz Update with Joe Armon-Jones. And on that note, we've come to an end of this week's episode of the Jazz Update. Don't forget, you can check out the archives of today's program on my YouTube channel, the Weekend Jazz Update with Joe. So on that note, I'll see you again next week. Have a great week ahead.